Welcome back to the second video of the new year. I love January's. This is my birthday month, and while I set goals at the beginning of each month, there's something special, at least for me, about January. It just makes me so excited to think ahead and dream big about what the new year can hold. So I'm going to share some of my goals in this video, and I've been keeping them in my ARC notebook, and I've gotten so many comments and questions asking if I'm going to stick with the notebook or go back to a traditional planner. For now, the notebook is working so great for me. I love the size, I love the durability of it, and I just find myself working more off of lists than I do actual the planner part. Although you will see I do have some planner inserts in here, but since I adapted the David Allen Getting Things Done, a much simplified and dumbed down version than what he recommends, and I think if your life is much busier, his full approach is fantastic. But for me, really diving down to the inbox, the project list, and the next action list seems to work really well for me. So I'm going to go over my goals to start out with, but if you'd like to skip ahead to the planner flip through, I will have a timestamp on the screen so you can jump ahead. My first goal is that I want to complete a minimalism game, and I was first introduced to these, I think in my homepage of YouTube, which is just a recommended video by a channel called Vested Interest, and I will link her channel down below. I think she's done 3 or 4 rounds of this minimalism game. Talked about it briefly in my last video, but it's very easy premise. You start usually on the first of the month, and the first day you declutter 1 thing. The second day you declutter 2 things, 3 things on the third day, and then forward, so that at the end you are decluttering 30 or 31 things at the very end of the month. So I've already started. I'm filming this on January 6th. I've been good so far, and I was talking about it with Jeremy. He's like, I really don't think, I think it's going to be a lot more stuff than you realize. But yesterday we decided to tackle a little bit of the storage area in our basement, and just his stuff alone, just 1 single pencil box of stuff was so much more than you could even imagine. So I actually don't think that this is going to be hard for me to do at all, and I'm already really excited about it. I'll take my phone downstairs and show you guys what I've decluttered so far. So my plan is, some of it is just trash or recycled items, but a lot of it I'm going to give away, and then whatever else, I'm scheduling a donation pickup for the first day available in February. So I'm going to package everything up in the boxes or the bags and then set it all out and just feel a little bit lighter, just go in a little bit lighter to the new year. Another goal, something I'm working on in myself, and that is I'm such a picky eater. I've always been that way, and I have a long list of food I don't like, but the things that come up a lot in recipes are tomatoes, onions, and peppers, and I don't want to be like that. I want to be a little bit more adventurous with food, so I thought a good challenge for myself would be to try to cook through a cookbook in a year, and I don't even know if that's possible. A lot of these cookbooks are huge, but I thought it would be a great exercise and kind of broaden my horizons, and that maybe if I tried more food, I could realize that maybe I've grown out of being a picky eater. That would be like my perfect thing, where I could just go to a restaurant and just order what I want without having to say without this, without that, without that, because I'm sure that's super annoying to waiters and chefs at restaurants. So I don't know which book that I'm going to go with, so if you have any recommendations, I'll show you. I do have one that I got for Christmas. It's called Skinnytaste, 1 and Done, for your Instant Pot, Slow Cooker, Air Fryer, Sheet Pan, Skillet, and Dutch Oven. I've made 1 recipe in here so far in the Instant Pot. It was delicious. I also got the Instant Pot for Christmas. I've used it twice, and I've been really impressed so far. So the only thing is there's a whole chapter in here dedicated to the air fryer, which I don't have, so I would have to skip that chapter at least for now. Another option would be one of Danielle Walker's cookbooks, and I really like hers. The thing is, I've made a couple recipes out of each, and then I just go on to something else. So I have this entire shelf of cookbooks, but I don't feel like I'm getting the full use out of them. So hers I think would be really good, and I also think when Jer's home from traveling, he has liked a lot of her meals. But I mean, the cookbook's huge. I'm not actually sure how many recipes are in this one, so I'll have to check it out. But at least right now, those are my 2 front runners. So if you have any opinions, or if you've tried anything like this yourself, I would love to know your experience. These goals aren't in any order, but the next few revolve around finance. And a big impact to my goal setting this year was an article I read late last year, and the blog is called Raptitude. It took me a second, but I will put a link to it down below. And the article was called something like Go Deeper, Not Wider, and it really resonated with me, and I still think about it all the time. And the basic premise is that we have such short attention spans with hobbies. I could say, well, I'd like to try salsa dancing this year, take salsa dancing classes. I mean, that sounds amazing, but what about photography? I've already invested so much into equipment and time, and I really enjoy it. So wouldn't it be great to really dive deeper and have such a saturated knowledge rather than such a shallow knowledge of lots of different things? And you could, in the article, he goes into so many different items of our life. You could do it with friendships and relationships. Instead of going out and seeking new friendships, what if you fully invested in the friends you already have and just deepen those relationships? And that is something with me. I feel like with health and books about health, like I'll get one and I'll start reading it and be like, oh yeah, I should implement all this in my life. And then I'll hear on a podcast this new diet or this new way of life that is going to change. And I'm like, oh, I have to get their book. And so I don't even think I could lift all the books that I currently have about health, specifically women's health. That is my weakness. I love to buy books like that. So one of my goals this year is to not buy any more health books until I've read what I currently own. And I think that's going to take me this year and beyond, if I'm being 100% honest. And then another area that I felt like 2018 was the year that I took responsibility for money. And this year I really want to double down and just know everything about personal finance, the most I possibly can, especially in regards to investing, so that I feel so confident and assured in all of my decisions. So to dive deeper into personal finance is one. And then I also really want to fully fund our job loss savings category. And the You Need a Budget app that I use for my budgeting software makes it really easy, because you can set a goal and it tells you how much you need to set aside each month. And if I'm being honest, this is a little bit of a stretch and I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it, but that's why we set goals. If goals were easy, we would just all accomplish them. So I want to push myself and grow a little bit. And so if I need to cut back in some other areas, I'm going to try to do it. And one of those ways I'm accomplishing that is trying to finish a no-buy month. So no-buy meaning necessities like clothes, makeup, just frivolous purchases. Of course, I'm going to buy food and water and whatever else that I need to live. I did one of these, I think it was October last year with Diana, and I made it to the 17th before purchasing something, and I don't even remember what I broke on, but see if I can beat my record. So it's January 6th so far, and it's kind of amazing when you're doing this just to see how many times during a week when you're out and about and you just think, oh, I'll grab this, even at the grocery store, Whole Foods. That's a little dangerous, and I should probably not be shopping at Whole Foods this month, because they have the fun health and natural and makeup section that has so many things I think are interesting. So I'm really trying to scale back and only buy food and other necessities. And I think that should in turn help me reach that savings goal by the end of the year. So I'll let you know how it goes. If I think about my life and the stressors in my life, one of the absolute biggest is my email inboxes, both personal, YouTube, work. I get so easily overwhelmed, and I have such a bad habit of checking emails on my phone and then replying to them in my mind and not actually doing it. And I want to get to a place where I'm processing my email inboxes just like I do my written inboxes, so that I'm staying on top of things. But I get so easily overwhelmed. So if you have any kind of blog post, book, advice for me, I would love to read. And I think this goal out of all of them is going to be one where I really have to dive in and make myself an action plan, so that how I'm going to go about and accomplish this and start staying on top and really committing to inbox zero. For the house, there's two things we definitely want to do. The first is to replace all the railings so that it coordinates better with the new flooring, and then the second is to replace both of the sliding glass doors, which need that really badly. We have one in the basement and then one off the kitchen on this level. We'd love to get the doors where the blinds are in between both the panes of glass. I think that seems amazing for privacy as well as for easy cleaning. And then the last goal I almost didn't want to talk about, because honestly it's kind of embarrassing, but I thought maybe if I shared it, it would spur me on. I really need to get my wisdom teeth removed. And I've gone to the same dentist for half of my life. My whole family goes to him. I feel really comfortable with him, and if it was him, I think I would have done it a long time ago, when you normally do this, like 17 or 18 or whatever. But he cannot do it. He doesn't feel comfortable because one of my wisdom teeth is like a super tooth, and if this is too much information, please skip ahead, but it has grown down into all the nerves. And so I guess where your upper jaw connects to your lower jaw, your nerves kind of bunch in one area, and that's where the tooth has grown into. So he's worried that if he does it, that he could nick something and I wouldn't have feeling for the rest of my life down here, so I could have food on my chin and not know about it. So he wants me to go to an oral surgeon, and for years he's been saying is this the year? And I'm like, maybe after my next appointment. So I'm so tired. Every time I get a new planner or rewrite a list, I'm so tired of rewriting, get my wisdom teeth out. So I'm saying it now so you guys can hold me to it, but this will be the year that I do it. And I already have my referral to the oral surgeon, so I'm gonna call and schedule my first appointment. Okay, I think that's everything I have to say about goals. Next up, I'm gonna do a quick flip through of my ARC notebook. So just as a background, ARC is a Staples brand, I think, but I think Office Depot has their own version, Levenger. It's just a disc-bound system. So I started with a basic Staples notebook that was working really well for me. And then I decided to upgrade just the cover, and I got one from Cloth and Paper sometime last year. I am not precious with this at all. It gets brought back and forth from work. I just toss it in my bag and it's held up so nicely. So I love how pretty it looks, but also that it's protecting all the pages therein. So the guts are still the same. And then I also have some of the Cloth and Paper planner pages in here as well. And so I love their style. It's all very minimal, black and white. So just very simple, but then the real meat of the planner is back in the back when I have all of my lists. So let me switch the camera a little bit and I'll show you what I have in here. So this is my original ARC notebook from Staples. I took the front cover off, but I left the back cover on, and I used that to slip into this Cloth and Paper planner cover to really secure the notebook in. I don't have a lot going on in this front cover. I have a note. I also have some of the Rifle Paper Company stamps and stickers, which are so ridiculously cute. I'm sure you've seen them before. I did post a picture on Instagram right when I got them. I have two sets of dividers. The first are top labeled, and I have them for my calendar pages at the front of the planner. So I have just January through June in here right now, and that's just to keep my planner from being overstuffed. And I have July through the end of the year, and I just keep those separate, and they're in my desk at work. And so I'll just bring those in once we get further into the year. These are the monthly planning pages I chose for 2019. They're from Cloth and Paper. I love how simple they are. They seem to work really well for me. So I just write down different appointments, and just like always, if there is something that we're planning but it's not set in stone, I like to keep a sticky note and make myself some notes. And then once it's confirmed date and time, then I'll actually write it into the planner. This Word of the Year card was a freebie in one of my Cloth and Paper orders. And like I said, it's depth. And so I think this is such a great reminder to have every time I flip to this section of my planner. So here's where the dividers change. And this is a second set of dividers. I have no labels on them because honestly, they change quite often just with whatever I'm currently working on. This is my weekly spread, and honestly, I don't use these all the time. That's why I tend to choose undated versions. That way I'm not wasting paper, and I can just use these on weeks where I feel a little bit more like I have a lot going on, or I feel a little bit more scattered, and I just want to write everything down so that I can see how the whole week is laying out and what my priorities are, and then what the actual to-do lists are on each day instead of working off a master to-do list. This is probably the most fun section of my planner. It's my two trackers I use. The first is the habit tracker, which is great and just kind of self-explanatory. So I change this up every week with what I'm currently working on. So big thing right now is doing that minimalism game. So I want to make sure that I'm decluttering every single day, because I think if you could let this build up and then it could become this huge task. So I think really making sure that I'm checking it off every single day has been helping me so far. The other thing I'm tracking is my wish list. And I started this last October during that spending fast month, and instead of purchasing things, I would just write them down and just decide. And I told myself, if at the end of the month I still want them, I will go out and purchase them. And it was kind of shocking how many things, a couple days went by and then I wasn't thinking about them anymore. And this is the meat of my planner, which I think I've talked about before, so I won't go into tons of depth. There really isn't that much to know. An inbox is simply, it could be a brain dump, whatever you want to call it. As soon as something comes in my brain, there's no chance now, and I try not to even think I'll be able to remember something. I just write it down. So I have this physical inbox, and I also keep one on my phone in case I'm out and about at a store or somebody mentions something to me in a meeting and I don't have my planner. I have a little list that I keep on my phone. And then once I get back to my planner, I write it down here. And it's just great to have one place where I can just feel confident, like everything I need to do is here in this one place. So when I go through and process the inbox, that's when I break it down into the different categories. So for me, the two big categories of my life are work and personal. If tasks have multiple steps, even if you wouldn't really consider it a project, it goes on the project tab. And then I break it down even further and do my next actions. So each project on here has a next action. This is what I need to do next to push me closer to being able to cross off that project off of my list. I do the exact same thing for personal, and personal means a million different things to me. It's pretty much anything other than work. So again, breaking down those projects into next action items. My last section is kind of miscellaneous. It starts out with reference materials, things I've read that really impacted me and I want to be able to go back and easily read them over again. I also have some YouTube video ideas, weekly, monthly tasks, and then my someday maybe list. And I just recently redid this so that I could kind of start fresh in January. So things that where I'm, you know, they're maybe on a work project list and it gets pushed off, but I don't want to forget about it. That's something that would go on the someday maybe list. Also back here, I have some blank notebook paper as well as a business card holder, and then I have a sleeve in the back for any kind of pieces of paper I also need to process, just like I would with my inbox. So I have my referral for my wisdom teeth, and I also have something for the DMV. And that's the end, pretty simple and sweet. I also purchased the goals planner from Inkwell Press. I think this is the first year they've introduced that, and I thought it was a great idea. That is gonna be something I keep at home. This one comes back and forth with me every single day. So the goal planner I'm gonna keep at home and then really use that for some of these bigger goals where I'm gonna need an action plan to help me break it down and then kind of track my progress over the different quarters of the year. Okay, that's my video for today. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe found something useful in it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave those down below. Thank you so much for watching and spending a little time with me today, and I'll talk to you again very soon.